experts to call us during the special program that we're calling What Now?
You know, Eric, it's been so tough to watch so many businesses have to close their doors and to hear the stories of people really so concerned about what the future is going to be, from restaurants to, B&Bs to, hotels to barber shops, which are now closed in many places. And all of these industries impacted by the coronavirus pandemic also impacted New York City tour guides. And with us now on the phone is Michael Morgenthal. He's the vice president of the Guides Association of New York City and Raise Food and Walking Tours. Michael, thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
I see images on Instagram, on social media. New York City really looks like a ghost town in so many places. What kind of impact is this having on tour guides and tour directors right now?
It's really total devastation on our part. A week ago, once the travel restrictions from Europe came into place and the NBA canceled their season, our cancellations started cascading in, and there is virtually no tour activity right now in New York City and throughout most of the country, and we don't see it changing anytime soon, unfortunately.
How much would you estimate that the industry is losing at this point in time?
We have been tracking data since March 7th just for New York City tours, and as of right now, we've tracked $1.4 million in lost revenue for our tour guides, who are, by and large, independent freelance contractors, which means we don't really get the same protections from the government in these sorts of emergencies that full-time workers would get. So we're really facing an existential threat. If we don't get aid from the government for freelancers and contractors, it's very likely that a lot of people will leave the business, and the tour scene in New York will look very different once this is all said and done. That number, though, doesn't really reflect the true nature of the loss that we're facing, because the survey we put out certainly has not been answered by every New York City tour guide, and it doesn't represent people who chose not to book tours. It just reflected people who actually canceled tours, and mostly for the months of March and April and into early May. We're anticipating a lot more cancellations coming through. We think the impact on tour guides alone is going to be upwards of $30 million.
What kind of assistance is most needed at this point?
Things are still emerging, but we think that direct aid and allowing us to apply for unemployment benefits would really be helpful. I see that various government agencies have offered loans. A lot of us are small, independent business owners, often just work for ourselves, so it's not like we need to keep a payroll going. It's a very varied business, so it's hard to kind of pigeonhole it into one. But direct aid as opposed to loans, I think, would be much more helpful to keep us going. The other thing that I would encourage people out there to do, we're going to need New Yorkers to help us out when this bounces back. A lot of tour companies offer gift certificates. I know that restaurants have been asking their patrons to buy gift certificates to kind of get them through. It'd be a great thing to do for tours that you might be interested in taking as well, and then you'd be able to cash it in once we're all allowed to hang out back outside with each other.
Yeah, let's just talk about that for a second there, Michael, because I would imagine it's going to be a while before out-of-town tourists, international tourists, come flocking back to New York City. So how can New Yorkers themselves, when this all dies down, how can New Yorkers themselves rally around an industry like this?
Well, the one great thing, or one of the many great things about living in New York, is the curiosity of people who live here in the city. And I've lived here my entire life, and every day I'm learning something new. So we're hoping that once this starts to die down, all the stir-crazy people who've been stuck in the apartment or the house working from home with their spouses, with their kids, they're going to want to get out and do something social, do something fun, do something educational. And as you said, we don't think that travelers are going to bounce back right away, out-of-towners, both because of economic and health concerns. So we're really going to rely on our native New Yorkers to get out and discover a different part of the city or a different sector of the city, whether it's history, architecture, what have you, that they might have always been interested in. We're just starting to formulate a marketing strategy to really reach out to local New Yorkers, and we hope to launch something in a couple of weeks that will really promote locals taking New York City tours.
Michael, thanks so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Michael Morgenthal is the vice president of the Guides Association of New York City, and he also is the owner of Raise Food and Walking Tours.
Elvis Costello at FUV.